Thank you all for joining us today. It's really a privilege to have invenioLSI and RSG Media team up to showcase our partnership and speak all about profitability in media content production and distribution. We've got an insightful session ahead, and we're excited to bring this discussion to you all. My name is Marissa Doros. I'm a marketing manager at invenioLSI, and I'll be your host for today's session. We've got some amazing experts here with us, Shiv Sehgal from RSG Media and Sham Jajodia from invenioLSI. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to our speakers to introduce themselves. So Shiv, let's start off with you.
Thank you, Marissa. Thank you, Sham, and thank you, invenioLSI, for your partnership and the opportunity for this webinar. Just to properly introduce myself, my name is Shiv Sehgal, and I serve as the Executive Vice President of RSG Media's Audience Analytics Division. I first started in the industry nearly 13 years ago, starting as a rights management business analyst, and today oversee a dynamic portfolio of intelligent inventory management solutions that empower media companies worldwide. Sham, over to you.
Thank you, Shiv. My name is Sham Jajodia. I'm Executive Vice President and Global Head of Pre-Sales. I'm also a Solution Architect for invenioLSI. Very happy to be here to meet some of our customers and other folks in our audience. And it's a privilege for me to present our solution for the media and entertainment market. I've been in the business of SAP system implementation for the last 25 years. Before that, I was in management consulting, and I've worked with many customers to help them realize value from SAP products in their industries. So looking forward to working with all of you if you choose to engage with us. With that, I'm going to pass over back to Marissa.
All right, thank you both. So before we really dive into the content, a couple of housekeeping items I'd like to cover. So first off, we are recording today's session, so don't worry if you miss anything or want to share it with a colleague. We'll send the copy to you afterward. And then secondly, we want to hear from you. So please drop your questions in the chat box on the right side of your screen anytime during the webinar, and we'll address those at the end. And then lastly, don't forget to stick around for our quick survey at the very end. Your feedback really helps us to shape our future webinars, and you can even ask more questions there if you'd like. All right, so now let's get into what we'll cover today. So we'll start off with an overview of invenioLSI and RSG for those who might not be familiar. And then we'll dive into the latest trends in the media and entertainment market. We'll explore paths to monetization. We'll discuss evolving rights models and rights management, and we'll take a closer look at the content supply chain and content financials. We'll then wrap it up with an overview of how this all fits together from end to end. So there's plenty to cover, but we'll make sure to leave time for your questions at the end. And if we don't get to all of your questions at the end, we'll follow up after the webinar with answers to those as well. So for those who are new to invenioLSI, here's who we are at a glance. We're an award-winning global SAP partner with a diverse team of over 1,400 experts across 16 offices in 11 countries. And this includes a strong technical team of 400 who have lots of knowledge and expertise in our technologies. On top of that, our expertise in technology consultancy really goes beyond the norm. We recruit and develop talents specifically tailored to meet the unique needs of our clients in the media and public sectors. And this really ensures that our solutions deliver real measurable impact. And because of this, we're a go-to partner, SAP partner for the media industry. We've successfully modernized finance and supply chain management systems for big players like Universal Music Group, Disney Star, and Globe and Mail. And with these companies, our goal is really to help them save costs, increase revenue, streamline financial processes, make better decisions with real-time reporting, and enhance user experience through predictive analytics. So that's really invenioLSI in a nutshell. And now I'll hand it over to Shiv for an overview of RSG Media.
Thank you, Marissa. For a brief overview on our organization, RSG Media, we bring over 3 decades experience and expertise in delivering strategic software solutions for the media industry, focusing on advancing the management of media companies' content, consumer products, advertising, and marketing inventories through our rights and audience analytics platforms. Our platforms touch all elements of the content, advertising, and marketing life cycles. Our RSG Rights platform manages the acquisition and exploitation of your content and consumer products rights, including the associated financial management and scheduling of content. Our RSG Audience platform helps to grow the audience for those acquired rights and helps monetize those audiences through our award-winning ML and AI optimization algorithms. We're very proud to partner and to serve with many of the world's largest media companies across many verticals, including cable and broadcast, with the likes of A&E, Paramount, Warner Brothers Discovery, and Televisa Univision, MSOs and MVPDs, your cable operators, with Rogers in Canada, Sky in the UK, and OT in Greece, the Sports League, where we're supporting the Big Four sports leagues, the MLB, NHL, NBA, and NFL, studios like Apple, Lionsgate, and Star Disney, over-the-top and direct-to-consumer platforms, Max, Pluto, and VIX, and consumer product merchandisers like the Mattels and NBC Universals of the world. In today's session, we'll be exploring the distinct benefits and market advantages that emerge when unifying RSG Media's platforms that are seamlessly integrated with invenioLSI's robust content financials platform. This synergy creates an end-to-end and all-encompassing solution for rights management, content financials, and audience analytics, which Shyam and I will be walking you more through today. Thank you. Next slide, please. All right. So as Shyam and I mentioned today, we'll be diving into the dynamic world of evolving media and entertainment trends that are reshaping our industry in 2024. Each underscoring the urgency for advanced rights management, content financials, and audience analytics. Let's first start off with competitive content libraries. The first rule in media, content is king. The race to build the most attractive and comprehensive content libraries is intensifying. Companies are investing heavily in original content, with global original content spend up 18% year over year, as media companies are securing more exclusive rights to distinguish themselves in a crowded market, highlighting the need for greater capabilities in production, co-production, commission, rights management, and greater capabilities in the realm of participations and residuals and guild payments. As for the battle of the bundles, it's clear subscription models are evolving. In today's day and age, for the battle of the bundles is about the ability to offer and curate content packages and services to provide value and choice and prevent subscriber churn. This is highlighted by the most recent announcement by Fox, ESPN, and Warner Brothers Discovery for a joint streaming platform to share sports assets. This is also highlighting the need for greater capabilities in distribution financial management capabilities. We will shortly be visually showing how evolving and unifying distribution models generate revenue from a franchise's ability to create derivative assets. Taking a look at some franchises like Transformers and Spider-Man, this will highlight the need and for a tighter coupling of your rights, finance, and audience platforms. As for the dynamics of future ad spending, advertising continues to fuel the industry. Future ad spending, however, will be increasingly data-centric and tailored, surpassing traditional TV advertising as we pivot towards connected TV and streaming that enables more precision targeting and contextual ads for audiences. This, of course, will be highlighting the need for advanced analytics and advertising capabilities. The M&E mania, mergers and acquisitions, are reshaping the landscape with the consolidation of companies to enhance their capabilities and expand their reach. This further highlights the need for operational savings and reduced liability with products that are seamlessly integrated with each other within the client's ecosystem to ensure comprehensive operations with up and downstream systems. including subledgers, scheduling, and playout systems. When it comes to intellectual property, it's being leveraged like never before with a surge in adaptations across gaming platforms. This trend reflects the blurring lines between different forms of entertainment requiring nuanced content and IP rights and financial management. And points 7 and 8 speak to the fundamental changes in how viewership is measured, with the introduction of alternate currencies beyond Nielsen, like VideoAmp, iSpot, ComScore, Samba TV, just to name a few. The ability to work with multiple data sets and have that reporting, forecasting, and optimization versatility is much more important. And lastly, with the advent of generative AI technologies, it has precipitated the early arrival of advanced analytics and research tools, previously unanticipated in the future. Sean, would you like anything? Would you like to add anything to some of the trends this year?
Sure, as soon as I get off mute, right? But no, thank you, Shiv. You're absolutely right. I mean, the whole landscape is evolving and changing all the time. And of course, streaming is the reason why everything is changing right now. You know, the digitization of media has obviously evolved into more and more ways of distributing media. And what we are seeing now is what I call, you know, the world is moving from create and compete to collaborate and combine. So it's, you know, basically everybody needs to work with someone else. This doesn't mean that the need for creativity goes away. It's just that the distribution models are becoming much more complicated and much more collaborative because, you know, the consumer is the king and the consumer is demanding certain changes to the way things are distributed. So absolutely, you're right. Next slide. Back to you, Chip.
Thank you, Shaman. As you mentioned, you know, the world is moving and the media industry is a global market constantly on the move and evolving. And only via an integrated rights, content, financials, and audience platform can you adeptly be positioned and equipped to navigate and address these complexities. And as shown in this diagram, there's many paths to monetization in today's diverse ecosystem of media monetization. This is emphasizing the need for a multi-channel approach to leverage multiple revenue models like ad-supported, subscription-supported, download-to-own licensing that can lead to maximized earnings and sustainable business models. Let's delve a little bit more into these strategies and some of the distributions that Shyam was just talking about. Next slide, please. Now let's consider the Spider-Man franchise's 30-year evolution and expansion of rights and revenue models. With the initial IP generation starting from a comic book, the initial exploitation of Spider-Man was through television shows, movies, and consumer products. Over the years, as new platforms and screens and technologies are emerging, so did the various complexities around rights management, financial processing, and associated audience analytics. And in today's day and age, where we need to combine not just the rights and the financials, it's also getting the audience analytics information to get that feedback loop to understand the most appropriate way to monetize your content and IP. Next slide, please. Sorry, section. Thank you. So now let's take a deeper look at RSG's media solution set and how it's advancing the management of media companies' content, consumer products, advertising, and marketing inventories through our rights and audience analytics platform. Next slide, please. Thank you. The core of our business is our rights platform that supports content owners, content distributors, and consumer product merchandisers. You need to fully manage the content and consumer products lifecycle. Our comprehensive end-to-end suite supports multiple facets and business problems across the media supply chain, where many of our clients adopt a set of modules based off, one, how are they positioned in the market? Two, how do they exploit their underlying content and IP rights? Three, how do they manage the associated financials and what's required? Is it acquisition finance, production finance, or distribution finance? And when it comes to programming, planning, and scheduling, we of course support linear, nonlinear, and digital scheduling. As for the audience platform, our audience platform is a cloud-based machine learning and AI decision-making platform for media companies to decode data for radical insights across their content, advertising, and marketing campaigns. Our audience platform is comprised of 3 core offerings. Advent for our advertising optimization that applies advanced mathematics to maximize your advertising revenues through deal planning and scheduling yield optimization. Profit is our media planning and scheduling platform to optimize your marketing campaign efficiency and effectiveness for cable and broadcast networks. And lastly, Scoop is our programming, research, and analytics platform to decode TV measurement data and unlock audience-based insights, providing a one-stop shop to help program planners and schedulers build the most competitive TV schedules that grab and hold viewers from competitors. And of course, it would be oversight not to mention the recognition across academic and industry peers for our expertise in machine learning and AI. Some of our achievements include beating out Facebook for the 2018 Biggie Awards, finalists for the Media Excellence Awards in ML and AI. In 2022, we won the Inform's Revenue Management and Practice Section Awards for our ad optimization capabilities. 2023, we were awarded the FICO Decision Awards in AI and optimization. And we're also the 2024 Inform's finalist for innovative application and analytics for our work in promo optimization. And 2 key strategic initiatives that I would love to highlight are the integration of our rights and audience platforms through ICON, intelligent document classification, interpretation, and extraction, and Smart Insights to evaluate program and network performance, predict network performance, and allow you the tools to understand not just how to optimize your linear TV schedule, but also understand what's the appropriate programming mix considering a sort of budget allocation. Next slide, please. At RSG, our customers are not just our clients. They are strategic partners and strategic allies. Collaboratively, we ascend up the maturity curve, jointly striving to enhance the value chain for greater returns. Where stage 1 is your basic risk aversion, focusing on fundamental rights management and financial upkeep, like managing your assets, securing rights, and ensuring proper finance and accounting. Stage 3 really enables operational efficiency in how we streamline the rights management process, enabling seamless integration with up and downstream systems, aiming to eliminate manual tasks and adopt more real-time capabilities, which enhances the overall productivity of an organization. And stages 4 and 5 really represents the pinnacle of data-driven decision-making, where clients are leveraging our highly accurate forecasting models that are married with rights data to determine the optimal programming, scheduling, content acquisition, and content licensing strategies. With that, I'd love to turn it over to Shah.
Thank you again, Shiv. Let's go to the next slide, please. So content management is approaching the same profitability problem from a different side. So I look at rights management, and if you look at where the focus is, it's primarily around revenue. But obviously things are changing even there. So let's take a look at what content management is all about. So the content management is about the content lifecycle. Essentially, we're talking about, a proposal is made for some content production or acquisition, and maybe a book, a screenplay, whatever it is. There are some revenue numbers tied to that content proposal. There are some profitability numbers, some cost numbers, etc. And then after that, there's some green lighting process, right? And you get an approval. So once you get the approval, then you need to finance this, and then you might get into some kind of pre-production or eventually production. There may be acquisition instead of pre-production and production. But whatever it is, that results in an actual content or actual property. So that property then needs to be registered, it needs to be tracked, it needs to be distributed, and then it needs to be amortized as well. So this whole, content supply chain has financial transactions at each stage of this change. So you might have, for example, just budgeting and approval of the budget on the front end in green lighting. You probably need to disclose how you're going to finance this. So all of the financing sources, whether they're government grants or tax incentives and shelters or private equity, hedge funds, etc. So you have different varieties of finance. And then, of course, you actually get into managing the project to either acquire or produce this content. So if you think about how your systems are set up today, I would bet that in a vast majority of the cases, you have a central ERP system, and maybe that's SAP, or maybe some other financial system. And then in addition to that, you have a production system. And that production system can be as simple as, say, Movie Magic or one of those production systems out there. What we would like to do is, of course, integrate these two systems into a single system. And that single, source of data would then allow you to have visibility all the way from the highest level of profitability down to the profitability of individual pieces of content. Say if you're in the broadcast world, you might want to track profitability down to the individual episode level where for a broadcast property. So things always are better when you can gain that visibility, because now you have the ability to monitor those costs, to compare them against the budget, and to control those costs. You can understand your cost drivers a lot better, and that will then ultimately give you better control over the costs. So as you know, I mean, the revenue side, things are changing all the time. There's a tremendous amount of pressure on revenues as well. But what is within your control, obviously, is managing the costs. Now, also, you need to think about how this ties into rights management. So if you look at how the rights are worked out, right from the beginning, you're always thinking about distribution rights, obviously. But then you also have to think about the rights of the talent that you're going to bring to develop this content. Because in today's world, a lot of the talent is compensated based on the revenues that you earn through your distribution rights or whatever other rights you have. So, the talent always wants a little piece of that. So now you're left with this issue or problem of managing all these different transactions, whether they're on the revenue side coming in from your rights management system, or on the cost side, where you have to pay a lot of different organizations or individuals for the talent that they provided to you for content production. So it's a complex issue, and ideally, you have one integrated system so that you're not required to, build interfaces or, God forbid, do manual work, right? So just let's go to the next slide, and I can show you how we are handling that and what we've developed. So invenioLSI has built an application called the Content Financials application. This sits on top of your SAP system. So if you have an SAP system, great. We can, sit on top of that, whether it's ECC or S/4HANA. If you don't have an SAP system, we'd love to help you explore the SAP system, because we think it's a very robust and very capable system for any media organization. But then, our application sits on top of that and creates this fully connected and integrated workflow. We have a content approval form in which you can define all of the different elements that need to be considered for content greenlighting. Then we have the deal memo app, and then you can have the different integrations from that deal memo. You can have procurement control apps where you create purchase orders and contracts. Again, the actual contracting can be done outside the system, but then you still need some commitment in the system to kind of reserve your budget for it, and then track the expenditures and each invoice and so on. Then accounts payable obviously makes payments. and then inventory recognition and amortization. That whole area is, post capitalization. So all of that is very well designed with UI5 screens and apps, and this allows your users to essentially manage the content lifecycle in the SAP system. So now that means that you are getting excellent visibility into your costs, into your revenues as well. And of course, there's a lot of automation of all the processes around the content lifecycle with no need to actually do anything manually. So that's kind of our concept. We're happy to demonstrate this to any of you should you have any interest in this. So please let us know at the end of the webinar or whenever that if you want us to sort of engage with you and explain what we're doing here. But most of our customers have found it extremely useful to have something like this. Next slide, please. Now, obviously, all of this sits on top of the very powerful SAP S/4HANA platform. And I don't know how familiar you are with it, but the SAP is now moving into what is known as composable ERP. That means it's no longer just a financial system or even maybe a logistics system. It's going beyond that. So obviously there is a human capital side, all the way from success factors, recruiting, onboarding, managing performance and goals, learning, all of those. And then there is spend management with Ariba, where there is a business network. That means you can essentially create a portal where your talent, whether that's a makeup artist, can register, can receive their purchase orders from, can enter their time, they can send their invoices through it and get paid. All of that without ever having to talk to an individual in your organization. So this improves your productivity tremendously, and of course improves satisfaction amongst those subcontractors or talent that are working for you. So huge improvement on what used to be the old purchasing system. In addition, you have, of course, customer relationship management. All of this together is a platform. It sits on top of a technology platform. This is one of the top rated business technology platforms in the cloud that are available today. So in this cloud platform, then you can do analytics, you can do process automation, you can have AI with machine learning, document information extraction, natural language processing. So what this does is around your main system, it allows you to optimize all of your processes across all of the different clouds that they may be in and create one integrated workflow and integrated data store across all these systems. So huge capability here. Of course, everything is powered by SAP's unique and revolutionary database called HANA, which speeds up processing to the point that you really don't need data warehouses anymore. So that's the model here, and we will be happy to talk to you anytime you want to discuss what solutions we can offer. Next slide, please. So coming back to here, Shiv, I want to have you take over.
Thank you. And this is, next slide, please. Oh, sorry, back to you.
Okay. So I think we were talking a little bit about how the two products work together and the integration between the two. So as you can see, on the left side are all the financial processes that are connected to the rights engine. And essentially, as soon as you know what rights you will need to be, contracting for, and then of course, creating all the processes for settling against, those are very important, right? And I think, as we mentioned earlier, everything is integrated into one system. And of course, we have regular back and forth integration with the rights management system. So maybe you can talk a little bit more about rights management here as well, Shiv.
Sure, of course. And we will be sharing in just a second our comprehensive end-to-end platform. But the core really of media and entertainment company is understanding your inventory, what you could do with it, and the associated management of, after something's been exploited, the associated financial management. So the synergies are 100% there across content, financials, and the rights management side by RSG Media, and we'll be highlighting some of that comprehensive workflow that Shyam just mentioned in a second. Next slide, please. And now, welcome to our comprehensive end-to-end platform that is uniquely designed for rights, finance, and audience management through the RSG and invenioLSI partnership. Now let's take a quick tour of how our platform transforms the content lifecycle management into a seamless workflow, as Shyam has mentioned, a seamless integrated workflow that aims to automate many of these processes. Now let's start it in the very beginning. In the content acquisition, our rights management platform, Rights Logic, our V4 platform, RSG Rights, has the contracts where a deal is done and we know what content is coming in. However, when content comes in, that's coming through a technical system, maybe a content management system, for example. So the content registration is where the systems meticulously log rights information and marrying production details with essential metadata to form the backbone of how content is processed throughout the ecosystem. But this importantly also has an impact on audience analytics. All of these, of course, are all related. Now, as we move from content registration to rights in, these are where the rights are being associated to an asset, and we understand what we can do for where to air it, how to exploit it, and that's where the preparation for the content and all that magic happens to encode, ingest, and store the media and make it ready for actual play out and trafficking. As we go through the journey, there's many things that we will be doing with content, whether it's actually using it on our networks or potentially even licensing out. The great thing for our rights management platform is that all the associated workflows are nicely integrated and coupled with rights. So if you're going to air it on linear, all of those rights are pre-validated ahead of time. Then, and if we're going to be licensing it, the order management and workflow and orchestration ensure seamless operations, ensuring the content is prepared, packaged, transcoded without any hitches, whether it's ready for playout or licensing. Finally, when it comes to the payment, royalty, amortization management, any financial ERP integration, we ensure that this process is accounted for. And when it comes to the audience engagement, that information is there and there's a feedback loop to the beginning of the food chain for the folks who are doing the actual acquisition or licensing of content, understanding not just performance, but understanding who is what content should I be acquiring? Is it dramas? Is it a reality TV series? What types of movies should I be acquiring? So that content fits with that audience of interest. All of this comes together very nicely in this kind of end-to-end ecosystem to manage the complexities in the media landscape, from content acquisition, financial management, to audience analytics. Shyam, would you like anything to add as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as you can see, at each stage, there are financial transactions, right? So, even things like the production master. So we can have, once the content has been acquired or it has been capitalized, we have the production master data in the SAP system, and we share it with all other systems, including the rights management system. So basically, that master then allows us to track everything. And just so you understand, the master goes down to, from the original property down to, the episode level. And you can really track every time you broadcast or whatever the actual episodes that are broadcasted. And as you know, many times amortization will be tied to that, and then rights will also be tied to that. So, that whole thing might be happening somewhere in your content management system or distribution system, but it then has a financial impact that needs to be transmitted back to the financial system so that any settlements that are required at that point can be handled. So whether it's paying the talent or collecting from a customer, all those situations will be handled through that. Especially around advertising revenue and so on, you want to make sure that the billing is handled at the right time, it's correct, and you also want to make sure that the credit of the customer is being monitored all the time. So there's a lot of things that we need to do here from a financial perspective, but having all that integration with the rights management system makes it all that much simpler and easier. So as you go on, then we're going to be amortizing that property, and any new rights that are created. Like say, for example, now you're collaborating with another company to maybe distribute your content in a collaborative way. Maybe you're doing it on a different platform, and you need to work out new rights with regard to that. So all those rights, again, need to be registered through the rights management system and then set up in the financial system so that you can settle eventually. And then now, once you have all of that and you have the transactions, now you're ready to do a lot of other analysis. So for example, you might look at cash planning or liquidity planning based on when the cash is going to come in versus when it's going out. And in the SAP system, then you can do up to 6 months positions. You can do even long-term, analytics for what kind of financing you need. And then you can also do profitability analysis to determine, what's the impact going to be of a single property, a single, media content on your overall profitability. And then you can understand exactly where things are changing from plan, so you can monitor the variations from the plan and maybe even try to control this or adjust the plan to match whatever you're doing. And of course, the financial close is in SAP. So once again, with the new system, with S/4HANA, we can speed that up. And the questions that are raised around specific content, whether it's capitalization questions or it is, amortization questions, any kind of cost or revenue questions, they can be answered very, very simply and clearly so that you can close your books pretty quickly. Next slide, please.
All right, well, thank you to our speakers for all of your insights. Now let's use this time to move on to audience questions. So please drop your questions in the chat on the right-hand side of your screen, and we'll answer them as they come in. All right, as the questions start coming in, let's start with the industry always changing, how do you keep your platform flexible to adapt to whatever's coming next in media and entertainment?
Yeah, sure. I can start. There's many ways in which we ensure that our platform is, adapting to the new trends in the industry. But let me first highlight, it starts with partnership with our clients. Whether it's TV everywhere or new initiatives that are happening on the sports league side, we have symposiums with our clients to understand what is the implication of this right, or a new way to monetize content. How do we want to think about it? And then how do we want to manage it from a systematic standpoint? So many of the trends really first starts off with a tight partnership with our clients and providing forums and opportunities for us to speak about it together, understand the impact, and then understand how do we want to manage it within our platforms. One of the just something that's coming up on the audience analytics side is the need to manage multiple currencies, reporting versatility. So some of the things that we're doing on the data side include, what are the data sets that we want to use for forecasting? What's more reliable? What's more appropriate? As some data sets are maybe more oriented for aggregated level reporting, or some are more oriented at household level insights. All that kind of understanding the right way to do things, the do's and don'ts, is time that we spend with our clients to identify ultimately what are they most comfortable with. Shyam?
I think you hit the nail on the head, Shiv. It's a partnership between our customers and us. So our customers are the ones who are most vocal while telling us, what's changing in the market. Not to say we don't try to monitor that ourselves. We attend major conferences and we try to make sure we are ahead of some of the new things that are developing in the marketplace. But ultimately, it's our customers who have a problem that we like to solve, right? So ultimately, we work very closely with our customers. Pretty much most of our customers that we originally implemented the system for are still working with us, for application management support. So, there's definitely those relationships that help us gain, the understanding that our customers have and learn from it. So essentially, that is our main way of doing this. But that's only for our product. But in addition, let's not forget that SAP, as one of the largest software companies in the world, invests every year over $10 billion in just research and development. So they're going out and, of course, they're developing technologies that ultimately we can apply to the benefit of our customers. And I think that as industry specialists, we have a real good understanding of what our customers need. And of course, we keep updating that understanding with our customers. So we keep rolling out new revisions and releases for our products.
All right, thank you both. So now we have one question for Shyam. Can you give us some insight into how your platform helps different departments in media and production companies collaborate, especially when it comes to managing operations and finances?
You want to go ahead, Shiv?
Sure. One use case that I love to share is that kind of feedback loop from the audience analytics side to ultimately the rights management side and the implications of finance. Very recently, we have built a programming asset allocation tool and models that incorporates Nielsen TV viewing data with AI. And this is where we kind of analyze where our programming budget should be in order to deliver the highest ROI. But questions that our AI is asking is things like, should we be acquiring older movies, or does it make sense to produce our new movies? Should we be acquiring older sitcoms or creating our own? How about dramas versus our own dramas? The understanding of what's that right kind of mix between originals and acquisitions, and how much money should we be investing in it kind of drives that initial kind of conversation. And then as it goes through the kind of life cycle from exploitation to then managing the underlying financials, those in this scenario is actually some of the audience analytics things that we're starting that initial conversation with the media companies and the production companies. Hope that was a helpful and insightful answer for that.
Yeah, I think, sure. Sorry, from our side, the biggest question we get asked all the time, are you going to turn my creatives into accountants? And I'm like, there's no way to do that. They're just two different kinds of people, the way I look at it. But that doesn't mean that the creatives don't worry about finance, or if accountants are not creative. I'm sure accountants are pretty creative, but I don't want to get into that. I think the important thing to understand is everybody comes with their strengths, and they all have their viewpoints. And I would shudder to think that we can just impose, financial discipline on the creatives. I think we have to bring them in. And that's why in all our implementations, we have a healthy component of organizational change management. So collaboration between production and finance is something that we would love to have. I think every company wants that. So the question is, how do we get there? And I think what this system does is it makes it, very easy to handle the finance side of production, which means you can actually put it in the hands of creatives and have less pushback than you would otherwise. And not to forget that they get benefits out of that because, every project manager for your, content production project is going to need to monitor various, key performance indicators. And it becomes a lot easier for them to monitor when they have this kind of a tool. So I think, there's a combination of good technology and then also organizational change management, but the results are fantastic. I think what comes out for the customers is, they have a much better understanding of the challenges and the reasons for cost increases around production costs. So, they're much better able to plan for them and control them.
All right, thank you both. So our next question is, when it comes to making decisions about where to put resources and how to monetize content, how does your platform provide the insights and analytics needed to make those calls?
Sure, I can start off. So our goal, we say it's data-driven decision making, but really I see our platform as de-risking decisions. We certainly have our forecasting and optimization capabilities, but if we can feed the data points to make someone feel comfortable and marry both kind of descriptive analytics with predictive and prescriptive analytics, I believe that gives folks the comfort level. Just for example, let's just take a kind of linear example. What's the optimal strip or stack for a show? It really first starts with, let's do maybe an historic analysis of how that show performs. Then we'll kind of roll up those levels of maturity, starting with maybe an audience segmentation analysis. People who watch this show, what else do they watch? When do they tune in? We'll understand the flow of those viewers and their behaviors, and starting to find certain affinities. And if we can marry that information with the forecasting and the optimization, and all those data points are marrying up, then that's enough information, I would say, to de-risk that decision. So it's really the marriage of multiple data points to start, to answer that specific business question, and to back it up in multiple ways, because at the end of the day, it's data driven, and we want the data to tell the right story. And that's what our platforms help curate, that optimal story.
I completely agree, Shiv. I think the way the world is going right now, cost of content production is always increasing. So, you're making big investments and you don't have certainty of returns, right? I mean, unless you produce a blockbuster, you're probably looking at, very uncertain returns. You will always have that flash in the pan that really makes a ton of money, but can anybody explain why it made money? Very difficult, isn't it? But at least what we can say is that we're collecting the data so that, early in greenlighting, there were probably claims made about what kind of revenue would be earned and how much. And what we know is we can provide the data so you can go back and look at how much revenue was actually earned. And also, around costs, if estimated costs were X, we can tell you why they turned into Y, right? So that's kind of the power that we can provide to you. But does that mean that we're going to completely take away the risk in any investment decision? We just cannot, right? I mean, that's why you need creative people who understand the culture and all of that. And they're the ones who determine whether something's successful or not. But we can certainly give you sort of a historical sort of insight so that you can verify, whether the claims that were made at greenlighting were actually met.
All right, thank you both. So our next question is directed toward Shyam, but Shiv, feel free to provide input as well. So Shyam, is content financials accessible on mobile platforms?
Yes, so content financials has been developed using SAP's version of UI5, also known as Fiori. And those applications are available on mobile devices out of the box. So, pretty much you don't need to do anything else to make them mobile. You just, you get them, you see the same look and feel. It is automatically resized to the amount of real estate available on your device. So you can use your iPhone versus your tablets or whatever, and the application automatically resizes to that. So it's context sensitive.
Same on the RSG Media side. Our applications are web-based, cloud-hosted, and are accessible across mobile, desktop, tablet, of course.
Okay, great. All right, so our last audience question. What is the typical timeline for implementing such a solution?
You want to go first, Shiv?
Sure. Well, obviously, all of our clients have their own nuances. And it really starts there, and we're happy, Sham and I are both happy to share that anyone on this call, we would love to offer a free consultation for a study. And that's really typically how we start. We certainly have our out-of-the-box capabilities and offerings, but it first starts with understanding our clients' needs, a day in the life of our client, and kind of what their short-term and long-term objectives are. And we work with our clients kind of hand in glove to make sure that we understand where are those opportunities for low-hanging fruit, and if there's things that do take time, we'll work with them, to identify the appropriate kind of future state with them. But again, a lot of this is based on that initial kind of phase 0 scoping and study analysis, and spending time with our clients to understand exactly the appropriate way to kind of execute and go about things.
Yeah, that's right, Shiv. And I mean, I hate to give the consulting answer, depends, because I want to help you understand what does it depend on, right? So I think a lot of this goes back to, the scope of what you're trying to accomplish. So typical things that you're looking at, of course, is, you want to maybe start with new production, projects and new proposals and go from there. But then, the question is, what are you going to do with the old stuff? Are you going to convert all that data? How many people do you need to train to use this app? What kind of change management do you require? How many workflows are you trying to automate? So, there's a lot of different things that go into determining how long it's going to take. I can tell you roughly, we're looking at anything between 6 to 18 months to implement something like this. But it all, like I said, depends on how far you want to go, how much scope you want to put in, and so on. So our suggestion would be, if you're contemplating something like this, to work with us, and we can help you scope it out, and at no charge, of course. And then at the end of that, you'll have a good idea, and then you can go forward with confidence.
All right, thank you, speakers. So I think that's all we have time for from the audience. We encourage you all listening or watching to connect directly with our speakers at the email addresses shown here on the screen. And in an email follow-up, I'll share direct links to their LinkedIn profiles if you want to connect there. So before we go, Shiv and Sham, do you have any final thoughts on giving our audience an overview of what that initial conversation would look like, and any recommendations for moving forward with these tools? I know you already covered, a free consultation and some other strategies, but any final thoughts to add?
I think we've covered it, but I will say, we work with our clients in many fashions, and we, do have an initial kind of questionnaire if our clients are unsure how to approach implementing a rights management, content financials, or an audience analytics platform. And these questionnaires are, simple in nature to understand kind of the breadth and depth and volume of different contracts and rights types that are managed, the different business units that are involved, understanding how each client, sees monetization opportunities, how they're tracked and identified, the operational efficiencies that they would love to achieve and see. And we have this nicely kind of laid out for them, and a handbook as well, so we can guide them through the process.
Yeah, absolutely, Shiv. I think from our side, we always want to engage with you to understand what your requirements are, what stage of the journey you're at. Are you contemplating a new ERP system, or you already have SAP and you want to now make it, get a better return on your investment in SAP? So again, depends on where you are in the journey, but we can then also talk about, what this looks like, especially, if you want demonstrations and so on, we can arrange for those. We can get a better understanding of which level of SAP you're on, like, which release and which patch level, etc. So we can help you kind of plan a project that will actually end in implementation of our content financials product. If you are, not in SAP right now, but you're considering an ERP, we would highly recommend SAP, so we can engage with you on how you can implement SAP in content financials at the same time. So, all these different pathways exist, and we're here to help you. So if you just engage with us, I'm sure there is some contact information down there below. sales@invenioLSI.com. That's where you want to send your email, and we will respond to you immediately.
All right, thank you. Well, that wraps up our webinar. So a big thank you to Shyam and Shiv for sharing your expertise, and to all of you attendees for joining and asking such great questions.